Welcome back to Fox Explainer. I'll show you the 2013 supernatural horror film called Mama. Spoilers ahead. If you would like to help feed my cat, subscribe to my channel. Watch out and take care. The film begins with a police radio transmission reporting a shooting incident at the Desange residence. On a snowy morning, Jeffrey, the father of Victoria and Lily, shoots and abducts his wife before fleeing with his daughters. Despite the snowy road, Jeffrey drives at a high rate of speed until the car crashes and falls off a cliff. Despite their injuries and the bad weather, Jeffrey and his daughters continue to follow a path through the woods towards an old cabin. As regret sets in for killing his wife and fleeing the authorities, Jeffrey points his gun at his daughter to end their suffering as he leaves his daughter inside the house while he starts a fire. Then, he removes her glasses. But the mama ghost attacks him and dismembers him, leaving behind two young girls. 5 years later, Jeffrey's brother, Lucas Desange, hires two hunters to search for his nieces because he believes they are still alive. After searching for the two young girls, they discover the wreckage of the car accident. The hunters use their dog's sense of smell to locate the missing girls. Finally, they locate them at the cabin in the woods. However, to their surprise, the two young girls behave in a feral manner. The hunters immediately contact Lucas to inform him that his nieces have been rescued. After 87 days, they travel to the institute where Victoria and Lily are currently residing. There, they encounter Dr. Dreyfus, who observes the girls as they exhibit feral characteristics. After 5 years of disappearance, he explains, the girls are now living as wild animals to survive. Dr. Dreyfus asks Lucas if he can give Victoria the glasses, as she has apparently poor eyesight. Victoria and Lily are so alarmed by his presence that they hide beneath the beds. However, Lucas asks Victoria to take the glasses and put them on, which she eventually does, thereby establishing a connection between the two as Lucas resembles Jeffrey. Later, at the custody hearing, the children's custody was determined. Dr. Dreyfus explains this after observing the lost children for 87 days. Mama is the name they have given to an imaginary mother figure that has helped them sing, feed, and survive in the woods for 5 years. The doctor emphasizes that Victoria and Lily can live a normal life with proper physical and emotional development, referring to Lucas and Annabelle as their guardians. Ms. Podolsky, the aunt of Victoria and Lily, explains that she wants to take custody of them because Lucas has financial difficulties and may have difficulty raising the children. Dr. Dreyfus offers Lucas proper shelter and support if he accepts his offer following the hearing. The doctor cannot wait to examine Victoria and Lily because their case is so compelling. Lucas and Annabelle accept the offer because it will benefit the children. After the three have reached an agreement, they depart and visit Miss Podolsky. As they are still relatives, she is granted permission to visit the girls once per week. The next day, Lucas and Annabelle move into their new residence. Dr. Dreyfus continues to observe Victoria and Lily's behavior at the medical facility. Victoria explains their relationship with Mama and the origins of this entity while being recorded. She mentions that her mother reveals it to her through dreams. It is about a woman fleeing from a hospital with her infant while the authorities pursue them. She becomes trapped on a cliff overlooking a river below. She had no choice but to jump because she believes it will save them, but her mother perishes. Instead, she left her child on a branch. After a few days of settling into their new home, Victoria and Lily tour the property to become acquainted with their surroundings. Later that day, Dr. Dreyfus recalls the woman Victoria mentions and conducts an investigation to determine her identity. He asks a woman working in the archives to retrieve reports containing Mama's story. The woman returns with papers but mentions that there have been no clear cases that resemble Mama's story in the area recently. However, there is a book containing the records of the Street Gertrudes Asylum, which has been closed since 1878, in which there is a patient named Edith Brennan whose story parallels Victoria's to the doctor. Lucas and Annabel discuss how the girls need more time to adjust in the evening. They spit at each other in the bedroom, but Annabel panics when she sees Mama's silhouette at the door, watching them. Lucas looks outside the room and examines the girls for injuries. There is no one in the room where a woman is growling. Mama scares Lucas, causing him to fall from the second floor while Lucas is carrying a hammer and inspecting the area to ensure that no one has broken into their home. Annabel is the only visible guardian of the children as Luke, who experiences a temporary coma. Annabel has terrifying dreams and visions of her mother. Annabel calls Dr. Dreyfus one day to examine the children's drawings on the wall because they may contain hidden meaning, and a twig doll catches his attention because he may have seen it before. The doctor then reviews Victoria's previous recording during his initial examination. He observes that the doll in the cabin and the doll at home are identical. Mom is the one who designed this doll. After dinner, Annabel puts the children to bed later that evening. However, as she attempts to sleep, she hears a crooked woman playing with the children in their room. There is no one in the room other than the children. Although Victoria warns her not to open the closet because it is nothing, Annabel suspects that a woman is visiting them in secret the following day. As a result of being alone with her sister for 5 years, Victoria develops dissociative personality disorder, causing her to sound like a crooked lady. Later, the doctor returns to the library archives to collect information about Edith Brennan, and he is given a small box containing the remains of Edith's long-dead child. At the hospital, Lucas experiences a shock, but he has a premonition about Jeffrey that warns him of an impending threat to the children. The silhouette of Jeffrey points to the right side of a bridge. The doctor and nurse rush into the room to assist him with his shock, but as he is treated, the vision disappears. The next day, Annabel observes Victoria in a room attempting to open a bottle of fruit, but Victoria warns her once more that Mama does not approve of their growing closeness, as she becomes envious of Annabel. MS. Podolsky is at the front door when the doorbell rings, and Annabel opens it for her. MS. Podolsky states that it is her responsibility to care for the children, but she observes bruises on the children and suspects that Annabel is abusing them. She is prepared to file a case against Annabel for physical abuse. All she needs is a photograph of the bruises. Later that evening, Dr. Dreyfus returns with information regarding Mama's identity. He displays the photograph to Victoria, but she becomes enraged and yells, prompting the doctor to retaliate by shouting while asking if she recognizes the subject. However, a large black sludge on the wall that releases moths appears behind him, and he flees in order to avoid seeing the next creature it will release. The following day, the doctor travels to the cabin in the woods to determine who Mama is and how dangerous she is. Later that evening, Annabel falls asleep. Edith reveals in her dream visions of how she murdered nurses in the past. The flashback depicts Edith fleeing the authorities and the moment she jumps off the cliff, leaving her infant clinging to a tree branch as she drowns in the lake. Lily hears Edith calling her down the window to play from the other room. Lily awakens Victoria, but Victoria insists that they stay in the room. Lily, however, is stubborn because she loves her mother so much. Back at the cabin, the doctor conducts a search for Edith-related information in the surrounding area. However, the wall is bleeding black sludge and emitting moths. He hears a female's crooked growls, and his flashlight begins to flicker and eventually dies. He produces a camera with a very powerful flash as a source of illumination. However, Edith attacks him as he repeatedly presses the button to capture Edith's image. She seizes him, absorbs his energy, and rips his face, resulting in the death of the curious doctor. Annabelle checks on Victoria and Lily in their room the following morning, but she panics when she discovers Lily sleeping outside beneath the tree. As it is extremely cold outside, she rushes outside to retrieve Lily, carries her inside, and hugs and holds her hands to warm her up. Lily eventually throws a tantrum at Annabelle, but she realizes that Annabelle is simply helping her to reduce her fever. Victoria descends, but she is apprehensive because she knows Mama will be enraged because she is envious of Annabelle's care for her adopted children. That morning, Annabelle fixes the window so that the children cannot use it to go outside, as doing so would be extremely dangerous. She instructs them to use the stairs in the future, particularly Lily. Victoria prepares the family's breakfast and then calls Annabelle. She is putting away clothes in the children's room when she notices Lily hiding under a blanket. Victoria calls again to get breakfast while she and Lily wait. Annabelle checks the cabinet to see what's behind the blanket, but she only sees a black sludge on the wall. Victoria tells Annabelle to skip breakfast and leave the cabinet alone. Annabelle asks Victoria about her session with Dr. Dreyfus about the mommy entity, but Victoria is hesitant to share. Annabelle later reviews the doctor's files in their living room. The files contain Victoria and the doctor's interview recordings and an old photo of a woman. The doctor's phone is unanswered. She visits the doctor because she's curious about the woman in the photo. As they arrive at the office, she steals the professor's box containing Victoria and Lily's case. They hurry home. At the hospital, Lucas decides to investigate his previous vision about Jeffrey and the path he is pointing at. He looks at a map and picture and rents a car to visit Clifton Forge 9 to investigate Jeffrey and the bridge. Later, at Lucas's, Annabelle investigates Mama and the doctor's box and files. She opens the laptop to watch a video and review files. In one recording, she hears about Victoria sharing about the story of Edith and how she lost her baby, and how the baby is found by the authorities before. She opens another file to reveal its dead baby's remains. She calls Lucas, but he doesn't answer because he's investigating at Clifton Forge 9. Annabelle cries after learning about its baby's death. Victoria says goodnight and loves her. MS. Podolsky sneaks into their home while they sleep to document the children's bruises to show the judge that Lucas is abusing them. Lily and Victoria wake up to check on Annabelle after seeing the closet's black sludge move. Mama sees them and becomes jealous of Annabelle. She bites Annabelle to slow her down. Mama shows herself as a hare to sneak attack Miss Podolsky and possess her body. Annabelle wakes up after a few minutes, but Mama has already abducted the kids. She drives quickly and carries Mama's baby to Clifton Forge 9's cliff. On her way, she meets Lucas, who is rushing to prevent Mama from taking the kids. They enter the cabin and find Miss Podolsky dead. As they leave the cabin, they realize the cliff is close. Annabelle and Lucas negotiate with Edith at the end of the cliff because Annabelle knows her sad story. As Edith is about to jump off the cliff with her dead baby, Lily yells, "Mama!" Annabelle and Lucas retaliate, but Edith is too strong. Victoria offers to be with Edith if she won't hurt Annabelle and Lucas. Annabelle grabs Victoria's clothes, but Edith keeps resisting. Annabelle shows her love for the kids at the end of the film, but Lily chooses to stay with Edith. Edith joins Lily in lake jumping. After the event, Lucas, Annabelle, and Victoria see a moth that Victoria calls Lily saying goodbye. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more and hit the like button to help me out, and also leave a comment if you want me to explain your favorite film. Until next time, take care.